Welcome to Solon Speaks. Today, we're discussing the dark side of DIY investing based on a blog I posted on LinkedIn. I use AI technology to create these podcasts for those who prefer learning by listening. My co-host is David. He will interact with me and elicit the main points of the blog. These podcasts are intentionally short, which permits you to capture a lot of information without spending a long time learning it.
Hi Dan, let's get into it. You recently wrote a blog about the dark side of DIY investing, and that title sounds a bit dramatic. So Dan, tell us, is DIY investing really that dangerous?
Well, it's not exactly haunted house dangerous, but it can definitely get tricky. Here's the thing. Technology makes it so easy now to be a DIY investor. You've got robo-advisors, ETFs, target date funds, all available at the click of a button. But it's a bit like giving a chainsaw to someone who's only ever used a butter knife. There's a learning curve, and unfortunately the mistakes can be costly.
That is quite an analogy. So let's talk about these pitfalls. You mentioned some psychological biases that DIY investors tend to fall victim to. Which one is the biggest offender?
Oh, definitely overconfidence. People think they can outsmart the market just because they've had a few good stock picks, or worse, because they feel like they have a handle on things. This overconfidence leads to undiversified portfolios, too much trading, and, spoiler alert, it rarely works out well.
The classic, I'm the next Warren Buffett syndrome. So, are these folks just chasing trends, or what?
Exactly. Another big bias is trend chasing. People see a stock skyrocketing and think, I have to get in on this. But often, by the time they're buying, it's already too late. They're buying high and then panic selling low, which, guess what, kills returns. It's the buy high, sell low special, and it's not exactly a winning formula.
I see, so it's like shopping during Black Friday. You're convinced you're getting a deal, but really, you're just part of the hype train. And this returns gap you mentioned in your blog, how bad is it?
It's not great. Morningstar did a study. Some don't trust the methodology it used, but it found that the average investor's returns lag behind the average fund's returns by about 1.7% annually. That might not sound huge, but over a decade or so it adds up. And all because of emotional, impulsive decisions.
Yikes. So, all this technology, all these robo-advisors, aren't they supposed to make things easier for people? What's the disconnect here?
You'd think, right? And they do help. Robo-advisors automate things like rebalancing and tax loss harvesting, which is fantastic. But the problem is that most robo-advisors lack the human touch that can stop investors from making emotional decisions. They can't hold your hand and say, no, don't sell just because the market is down. People need that extra layer of guidance sometimes.
So, it sounds like robo-advisors are great for simplifying the technical side, but might not be able to handle the emotional side. Any advice for DIY investors who want to avoid the pitfalls?
Definitely. First, know yourself. Are you likely to get jittery and sell when things go south? Then maybe a hands-off approach isn't best for you. Second, keep it simple. Don't go chasing the next big stock. Low-cost index funds have worked for decades. And third, get educated. Learn about biases like overconfidence and loss aversion. The more aware you are, the better.
Great tips. And for the record, Dan, I'm a big fan of the keep it simple approach myself. But before we wrap up, any final thoughts on where financial advisors fit into all this?
Absolutely. Financial advisors aren't just about managing money. They're like behavioral coaches. They help investors stick to the plan, avoid impulsive decisions, and navigate the emotional side of investing. So even for people who love DIY, a good advisor can be a valuable partner. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Well said. This has been a blast, Dan. I feel like I've learned so much about investing and myself.
Thanks. That's what Solon Speaks is all about. We're here to make investing accessible and help people make better financial choices without all the jargon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.